Just as the news of Lil Durk's shocking arrest broke, Nikki, his estranged wife, suddenly went viral, stirring the internet and sparking endless questions about her life. Now, once the strong woman behind one of hip-hop's biggest stars, Nikki faced a whirlwind of love, betrayal, and heartbreak from her sudden rise to social media stardom to the shocking revelations surrounding their separation. Nikki's story is full of twists and resilience. Let's uncover the truth of what really happened to Nikki. After she parted ways with Durk, Nikki goes viral amid Durk's arrest as the world reels from the news of Lil Durk's arrest on some of the heaviest charges of his career. An unexpected figure has been pulled right back into the spotlight. Nicole Convin, also known as OTF Nikki. Yes, Nicole Convin, the same woman who once stood beside Lil Durk through his rise from Chicago's underground rap scene to mainstream fame. Now, as Durk faces accusations that could end his career, a viral post has stirred up a wave of support for Nicole, Durk's first love and mother of children. And why has this resurfaced? Why, of all times, has Nicole, who's now living a completely separate life from the OTF world, become the center of attention once again? And why has Nikki gone viral? Here's what we know about the viral post, and the whirlwind of reactions that followed. It all started with a single, seemingly innocent post on X, formerly Twitter, that exploded across social media on October 26, 2024. Someone shared an old photo of Nicole and Durk together, caption, Durk's going to be alright. He bounced back from this, and just like that, over 4.9 million views and thousands of shares later, Nikki's name was everywhere. It was almost like a flashback, a reminder to the world that often Nikki had been there since the very beginning. So why did this post strike such a nerve? Why would anyone care about a throwback photo of a couple who split over a decade ago? The answer is simple yet complex for Durk's fans. Nikki represents loyalty, authenticity, and a connection to his early days that seems almost lost now, and as comments flooded in, it became clear people had not forgotten her. One user wrote, "She was with him when he was nobody, a real one." Another said, "Without her, there would be no Durk." Which is ironic now if you think about it. Nikki, the high school sweetheart, the one who co-founded Only the Family alongside Durk, the mother of his children, has become something of an unsung hero for his fans. But she never asked for that title. In the years since their split, Nikki has built a new life, one far away from the drama of the OTF lifestyle. But it's clear that for many, she still embodies the foundation of Lil Durk's legacy. And then, with Durk facing serious federal charges, his relationship with Nikki takes on a whole new significance. It's as if fans are now asking, where would he be without her? Fans quickly rallied, pointing to Nikki's unwavering support back when Durk was still trying to make a name for himself in the hard streets of Chicago. They remember stories of Nikki paying for studio sessions and holding things down when Durk had nothing. In a way, Nikki is Durk's history, a part of his journey he can never fully erase. But for Nikki, it seems like it's been more than a decade of trying to move on. She's not part of OTF anymore. In fact, she's the CEO of a successful credit restoration company called The Credit Click, with a thriving social media presence and a new life of her own. And despite the viral post and the renewed attention, Nikki hasn't said a word about Durk or his arrest. No reactions, no statements. She simply moved on. And yet it seems like the world won't let her fully leave that past behind. She's a reminder to fans of the raw beginnings, the sacrifices made in silence, and the journey that shaped who Lil Durk is today. So now, as the public watches Durk's life take this dramatic turn, it's almost like we are all watching Nikki too, the woman who stood by him in the early days, the one who helped him build the very brand he's now fighting to protect. This viral moment, this unexpected spotlight, it's more than just nostalgia. It's a reminder of loyalty, of sacrifices that are often forgotten, and of a legacy that's still deeply tied to a woman who's moved on. Nikki's viral resurgence might just be the unspoken story in Lil Durk's saga, a story of what could have been, what was, and what still remains. And yet, the story of what happened between them and why she left him in 2013 is still full of questions and some shocking revelations. Durk legal battle. Nikki's return to headlines, the arrest of Durk, caught everyone's attention from fans to critics to the media who were hungry for details. And for Nikki, this was another sudden thrust into the spotlight, a spotlight she hadn't expected and certainly didn't ask for. But that's the thing about life. In the public eye, when you think you have finally moved on, it has a way of pulling you back. And this wasn't just about Durk anymore. It was about a shared history, a tangled web that Nikki couldn't easily step away from, even though she had tried so hard to build a life outside of it. And as the details of Durk's legal battle began to unfold, Nikki's social media started buzzing. Every post, every picture, every word she shared seemed to fuel the public's obsession with her connection to him. Whereas on the flip side, Lil Durk's legal troubles have reached a pivotal point. He stands charged with one of the most serious crimes possible: conspiracy to commit murder. For hire, the federal government's case, supported by an FBI affidavit released on October 25, 2024, claims that Durk, whose full name is Durk Devontae Banks, financed a planned act of revenge. According to federal agents, Durk and members of his rap collective OTF allegedly plotted to target fellow rapper Quando Rondo after a long-standing feud turned deadly. These charges stem from gas station shooting in 2022, where tragically not Ron, but his cousin lost his life. And now, as Durk sits behind bars, one of the nation's top celebrity defense lawyers, Bradford M. Cohen, believes there's a path for Durk to beat this charge. The key to this case lies in what evidence the prosecution can actually bring forward against Durk. According to Cohen, who recently spoke on Law Crimes YouTube podcast, a single text from Durk has emerged as potential evidence. This text message, in which Durk appears to distance himself from the travel plans of other OTF members, read, "Don't have them associate my name with any kind of flights that they're taking." Bradford Cohen admits certainly that's not a good text. But Cohen quickly points out that while suggestive, this message alone does not prove intent or direct involvement in a conspiracy. It's a piece of circumstantial evidence, one that could easily be interpreted in a variety of ways. As Cohen put it, is that the only text? Because if that's all there is, he insists it's far from enough to stand on its own in a court of law.
I've seen one text that says, "Don't have them associate my name with any kind of flights that they're taking." Certainly that's not a good text, but is that the only text? Because that doesn't, that in itself doesn't stand on its own. Certainly it's circumstantial, but like I said, we have to wait and see.
This brings us to a crucial question. Is the government's case against Durk strong enough? Cohen remains unconvinced in his view. There's a lot missing here. If the prosecution cannot present a clear line of communication proving that Durk directed or financed the alleged revenge attempt, then the conspiracy charge could fall apart. And according to Cohen, this might actually be the case. Meanwhile, the situation for Durk's co-defendants appears to be far more dire. Cohen highlights that the other members of OTF arrested in connection with this case face a damning set of evidence that includes travel, records, plane tickets, and even video. Cohen points out that these other guys have been directly linked to travel plans, a rented car, and other physical evidence tying them to the alleged crime for them. This case is going to be an uphill battle, yet for Durk the landscape may look very different. Cohen believes that Durk's defense can argue he had no direct involvement in this alleged conspiracy. They can contend that Durk's association with individuals who might have had their own agendas does not necessarily imply guilt. According to Cohen, "I think that Durk will still have a defense he sees missing pieces in the case that leave room for doubt, reasonable doubt. For now, Durk's defense rests on challenging the strength of the evidence against him, framing him as someone who may be connected but not directly culpable. The question remains, will this defense be enough? Or will new evidence emerge that could shift the case once again for Lil Durk? This isn't just a case. It's a fight for his freedom, his reputation, and perhaps the very legacy he's built in the music world, facing a potential life sentence. He and his legal team know they can't afford to leave any stone unturned with the glare of media attention. Fans, critics, and legal analysts are all watching closely, ready to dissect every new revelation. For Nikki, this wasn't an easy moment. She had moved on, and yet she was being pulled back into the narrative she thought she'd left behind. It was a moment of testing a question of how she would respond to the resurgence of attention to the people who couldn't let go of the Durk and Nikki story. So, how did Nikki respond? She kept her focus on what mattered most to her, her children, her goals, and the life she was building on her own terms. There were no public comments, no statements, just a quiet resilience in the face of an endless media storm. This time, Nikki was determined to protect her peace. She knew that the public's fascination with her past couldn't define her present or her future. As the court dates continued, the media spun the story in every direction possible: old photos, interviews, and speculations surfaced, digging up the very moments Nikki wanted to leave behind. They weren't just covering that, they were covering her. So where does this all lead? What really happened to Nikki? And why did their relationship end so suddenly? The tragic story of Dr and Nikki's relationship, our story, goes back to a time before the fame, before the bright lights, and before Lil Durk was even Lil Durk. This was Chicago, late 2000s, just two teenagers trying to survive a city that didn't give much to anyone, especially not to kids from Durk's neighborhood. For Durk, meeting Nikki was like finding an anchor in a world that seemed to spin out of control. She wasn't just his high school sweetheart. She was his support system, his motivation, and his family. The OTF family we know today that was built on the foundation of Nikki and Durk's relationship. Durk often spoke about how Nikki was with him before anyone knew his name. Back then it was just Durk Banks, a kid with a love for music and a dream that felt impossible. While others doubted him, Nikki believed he had something special, something worth chasing, and that kind of loyalty in Durk's eyes was everything. When Durk was out in the studio late at night hustling for hours, Nikki was there. While others may have questioned his decisions, she stayed by his side, believing in him when he barely believed in himself. And in world, that kind of loyalty wasn't just rare, it was sacred. In fact, in many ways, Nikki helped Durk get through the challenges he faced on the streets, the struggles, the temptations, and the pain. Nikki was there through it all, helping him stay grounded. It was that unwavering faith that allowed him to focus on music, on becoming something more than just another statistic in a tough neighborhood. And as Durk's dreams grew, so did their commitment to each other. They had their first child together, a son, Angelo, a bond that made their relationship even stronger, that brought even more purpose to their lives. They weren't just a couple anymore. They were a family. And with each step of Durk's rise, Nikki was right beside him, pushing him, supporting him, and believing in him, no matter how uncertain the road ahead seemed. But fame has a way of changing things, doesn't it? As Durk's popularity grew, so did the pressure and the temptations. Everyone wanted a piece of him, and the OTF lifestyle started pulling him further and further away from that quiet life he had with Nikki and their kids. They had built a family, and that family was now feeling the strain of fame. Durk and Nikki welcomed their second child together, a beautiful daughter named Bella. Thanks. But by this time, the pressures of fame and the demands of the music world had created a divide that was becoming harder to ignore. The relationship that had once been unbreakable was starting to crumble. The OTF brand, the music, the tours, the fame, it all became too much, leaving less and less room for the relationship that started it all. And in 2013, the news broke that Nikki and Durk had decided to part ways. For Nikki, was the end of a chapter that had defined her life, a chapter filled with both love and sacrifice. But even after the split, the two remained connected through their children, through the memories, and through the legacy of OTF that Nikki had helped build. In interviews, Durk has spoken about Nikki with respect. Even after the split, she was there in the beginning, helping him chase a dream that everyone else thought was unreachable. And for that, he says he'll always be grateful. Every relationship has its breaking point, doesn't it? Those moments when things aren't as simple as they once seemed. For Durk and Nikki, the cracks in their relationship became impossible to ignore as fame, temptation, and a fast-paced life drew him into a world far removed from where they had started. As Durk's name started to shine brighter, it wasn't just the music world that took notice. It was a world of late nights, packed clubs, and all the wrong people ready to pull him in every direction. And as he rose to fame, Nikki could feel him slipping away bit by bit. The love they had was strong, but with Durk's increasing fame came whispers, and then rumors, and then headlines that made it impossible for Nikki to ignore the truth. Infidelity, the word alone, can shake the strongest of bonds, and for Nikki, it was like the foundation they had built together was suddenly crumbling beneath her feet. And then the rumors turned into evidence. Nikki began to see the messages, the photos, the late-night calls that Durk couldn't explain away. He was now tangled in a lifestyle she had not signed up for, with temptations that seemed all too willing to lure him away. For Nikki, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about losing the man she had once believed would always be by her side. And maybe it's that sense of loss that hurts the most, the feeling that the person you built a life with is no longer the same person standing before you. Nikki knew Durk's heart. She'd seen him at his best, at his most vulnerable. But now it was as if was staring into the eyes of a stranger. Their relationship, once so strong, had reached a point of no return. Durk's focus was elsewhere, on his career, on his fame, and in moments of weakness on people who weren't Nikki. And that's the hardest part, isn't it? Not just the betrayal, but the reality that sometimes even love isn't enough to hold it all together. But Nikki wasn't just heartbroken. She was determined to herself and her children for this relationship had to end. because the trust was gone. And without trust, there was no future left for them. After trying to work things out, after enduring the public scrutiny and the endless rumors, Nikki knew she needed to walk away. She needed to start over. It was a decision that wasn't easy, but it was necessary for Nikki. The choice to leave wasn't about abandoning love, it was about preserving it. Love for her children, love for herself, and maybe even a lingering love for the man Durk used to be separating was their breaking point. But Nikki knew she had to put herself first for once. She wasn't just the support behind the artist, the woman in the background. She was Nikki Cavone, a mother and a woman ready to rebuild her life with or without Durk by her side. The separation was public, painful, and at times never let them live down. But Nikki knew that the public's opinion didn't matter. Only her truth mattered, and that truth was that she could no longer stay in a relationship that no longer brought her peace. So Nikki took the courageous step to walk away. She turned a painful chapter into a new start for herself and her children, and as she moved on, she reclaimed her independence and built a life that was no longer defined by Lil Durk or the legacy of their past. And while Nikki found her way forward, Durk was still climbing higher in the music world. But behind the spotlight, he carried the weight of his choices, and soon, his action would have serious consequences because fame, fortune, and legacy don't erase the reality that sometimes our past decisions catch up to us. So what's life been like for Nikki since? Has she really moved on? Or does the legacy she helped create still linger in her life today? Life after divorce, Nikki's success story. For many people, a breakup with someone so deeply woven into their lives would be a setback. But for Nikki, it was a turning point. It was a moment to reclaim her life, to redefine who she was, not just as Durk's ex, but as Nikki Cavone. I think we can all relate to that feeling, right? The urge to find yourself again, to peel away all the labels others have given you, and start anew for Nikki. This wasn't about running away from the past, it was about building her own future. With every step she took away from the shadows of her past, Nikki was building a life centered on her children, her passions, and a newfound sense of independence. She became more than just a part of Durk's world. She was creating a world of her own, for herself and her family. For Nikki, being present with her kids and creating a stable, loving environment became her top priority. She used her family as her anchor, making them the driving force behind her efforts to build a stable, independent life. As she dove into her career, she also redefined her approach to parenting, balancing her professional ambitions with her dedication to providing her children with a loving and supportive home. Nikki didn't just become a mother focused on survival. She transformed into a role model, showing her kids what it means to stay resilient, committed, and unbreakable. Nikki channeled her energy into a new venture, something she had long aspired to, becoming the CEO of her own company. The credit clip: in her new role, Nikki took charge with a purpose. As CEO, she applied her experience, insight, and empathy toward guiding her clients through their financial journeys, helping them overcome obstacles in credit budgeting and financial planning. The Credit Click isn't just a company. It's a manifestation of Nikki's vision to empower others, offering guidance to those looking to improve their credit and take control of their financial lives. By helping people navigate the complex world of credit, she was creating opportunities, not just for herself, but for the community she cared about. Nikki's commitment to her clients at the Credit Click demonstrated her belief in second chances and new beginnings principles she knew all too well. Her empathy and hands-on approach attracted a growing clientele who appreciated her understanding and guidance. The business soon gained momentum, allowing Nikki to reach new levels of success, while also making a meaningful impact in people's lives. Beyond her business achievements, Nikki took on the role of a dedicated mother. Raising her children as a single parent was a responsibility she took seriously, with an emphasis on instilling values of resilience, kindness, and determination. She maintained an environment that was nurturing, yet grounded in the real reality of hard work, teaching her children that setbacks are simply stepping stones toward future successes. Her approach to parenting was rooted in understanding and communication. Nikki wanted her children to see that while life could be challenging, they had the strength within them to overcome any obstacle. She involved them in her journey as a businesswoman, showing them the value of dedication and perseverance. Nikki ensured her children were a central part of her life, balancing her role as CEO with being present for them through all their highs and lows. This bond with her children was a cornerstone of her success, as they provided her with motivation, inspiration, and joy in today's digital world. Nikki quickly recognized the power of social media to connect, inspire, and influence. She began sharing her story and insights on platforms like Instagram, where her journey resonated with a growing audience. Nikki's authenticity and openness allowed her to stand out, attracting followers who found inspiration in her resilience and positivity. Through her social media channels, Nikki offered glimpses into her life as a businesswoman and a mother, sharing everything from motivational tips to her personal journey of rebuilding her life. Her followers admired her honesty about the struggles she faced and the practical advice she offered on overcoming obstacles. The Credit Click's social media pages became a valuable resource for anyone looking to improve their financial literacy, attracting individuals who respected her knowledge and trusted her guidance. Nikki used her social media not only to promote her business, but also to foster a community. Nikki's influence went beyond her role. As a CEO, she became a relatable figure, someone who could connect with her audience on a personal level, inspiring them to believe in the possibility of transformation and success after difficult times. While Nikki's social media influence continued to grow, she was mindful of maintaining a grounded and low-profile approach. She carefully chose to avoid controversy, focusing her public image on positivity, personal growth, and resilience rather than engaging in sensationalism. Nikki kept her online persona as real and honest as her offline life. Nikki's ability to steer clear of controversy reflected her grounded personality and maturity. She didn't seek fame or attention through dramatic, but rather let her work and personal story speak for themselves by focusing on her values and staying true to her mission. Nikki has built a solid reputation as a woman of integrity and purpose. Her decision to avoid controversy has allowed her to foster a positive environment around herself, her business, and her family. She continues to make an impact without compromising her values, proving that a successful life after divorce doesn't have to include drama or negativity. Nikki's success story is not just about career achievements or social media influence. It's about finding strength amid adversity and embracing change and inspiring others to believe in the beauty of second chances. Life after divorce didn't hold Nikki back. It propelled her forward into a life defined by purpose, empowerment, and hope. Thanks for joining us on Nikki's incredible journey of resilience, growth, and empowerment. Her journey reminds us that life after heartbreak can lead to incredible strength and success. If her story resonates with you, and you are curious to explore more powerful transformations, just tap the card on your screen for more stories that celebrate resilience and reinvention.